To this Getting Ready to Teach bite-sized session for the T-level in accounting. This session will focus on an introduction to the occupational specialism. Session forms part of a wider Getting Ready to Teach session that looks at the occupational specialism as a whole, and this covers things like reviewing the outcomes, the performance outcomes, looking at the structure of the occupational specialism, understanding level-based mask schemes, and the lead examiner report. But this session will focus on what is the occupational specialism, so that if you wanted to view the other sessions, you're prepared and understand what the assessment looks like. Ready to Teach then looks at a range of different materials, specifically the specification and the sample assessment materials. However, for the remainder of this bite-sized session, it would be useful if you had the T-level in accounting specification in front of you, ideally the most up-to-date version. So we're just going to have a look at what the occupational specialism is and what it consists of. So the occupational specialism is an externally assessed project that students will take in the final year of their T-level qualification. Is it undertaken in a combination of supervised and controlled conditions? And the project for accounting is worth 258 marks, and it's worth 100% of the second year of the T-level qualification. So 50% of the whole T-level overall comes from this project. The assessment takes place over multiple sessions, but in total the sessions come to a duration of 17 hours and 25 minutes. And these are set on a timetable by Pearson. So they will be, if you access the exam timetable for the T-level in accounting, each of the occupational specialism sessions, the employer project sessions, and the core exams will be listed on there so that you can plan when these are, so that obviously you can get access to IT rooms because you'll need them for the projects, and to make sure that you've got staffing available and to check what invigilators you're going to need. The project will consist of a portfolio of evidence that's submitted electronically. So typically speaking, on the occupational specialism, students will get a resource booklet. They'll get given a task booklet, and then they'll get given a booklet where they record their answers, the answer booklet. Now, on the same day that these activities are completed, you then need to access those materials and upload them onto the Pearson portal. I think it's OneDrive at the minute, but it might change. And then what you'll have to do is make sure that obviously IT are available on those days and you can get them so that you've got it all there and it's ready to go at the time. So within the occupational specialism itself, there's a few things that you'll see in the specification that each of the areas looks at. So there's performance outcomes, which we'll have a look at in a minute. There's the knowledge outcomes, and then there are specialist skill outcomes. So for each of the performance outcomes, there are also knowledge outcomes. So as you can see here, the knowledge that they're going to have to learn are things like accounting elements and double entry principles. They're going to have to understand sort of analysis of financial data and statements. They'll have to perform financial analysis and interpret results, be able to calculate and analyse taxation, audit and risk. And they'll also have to be able to prepare calculations for payroll. Now, within the occupational specialism, they will be in a different order to this. So the tasks don't necessarily match up to the knowledge areas in sort of number order. But when you look at the specification, you'll see that within each of these knowledge areas, there's also a lot of sub areas, and then there's specialist skills. So when you're looking at how you're going to plan and deliver your occupational specialism, it's important to really look at what knowledge do we need to deliver, what skills must they also have, and then what task is that contributing to, or what performance outcome is this directly addressing. And if students are aware and you're teaching them how the knowledge and skills directly relate to the performance outcome or the task, it should make it easier for them when they're doing their occupational specialism to relate it back. So it would be useful if you can, when you're doing the different knowledge areas, not only to signpost it to students, but maybe have a series of sort of mini OS tasks that you can use, so that as you're going through in class and students are learning this knowledge, they can see that direct correlation between, oh, I need to learn this skill and this knowledge because it has this outcome in my assessment. And if they've got that knowledge and background, it makes it a lot easier for them when they come to look at the occupational specialism as a whole, because it is an assessment they're not familiar with. And so the more that they've been familiar with the subtasks and the activities and the skills, the easier they're going to hopefully find it when they get to the real occupational specialism, be it their mock or the real thing, to sit down and know what they've got to do and how they're going to go about it. So these are the 5 performance outcomes that students are being assessed against. So you can see here that we've got, they need to be able to produce and analyse a trial balance. They're going to have to be able to prepare primary financial statements. They're going to have to be able to analyse business performance and present results. They're going to have to provide support to tax and audit functions, and then they're going to have to prepare computations for payroll. Now, equally again, these do not appear in this order within the occupational specialism. There's actually 8 tasks on the accounting specialism, and of them there's some subtasks as well. So students need to be familiar with, okay, if I'm doing this task, I'm being assessed on this. Because it will not be as simple as they look and they go, okay, I've got 5 tasks and each one matches the performance outcome. Because in reality, the skills and knowledge they're learning here is going to appear across multiple activities that they're doing in the workplace. And that's why when you look at the occupational specialism, you'll see that multiple tasks are assessing multiple performance outcomes at once. So it's just about getting students familiar with how it all fits together, which tasks are going to assess which outcomes, obviously what knowledge and skills they then need to have, so that when they're sitting their occupational specialism, and it really is worth doing a full mock if you can, they understand the process, they understand what they've got to do, and it just makes it easier for them as they go through. So as you can see here, this is the assessment tasks for the occupational specialism in accounting. There are 8, but some of these, like say for example task 8 does have subtasks, so there is task 8A, 8B and C and 8D. So it's worth thinking about how many there are, preparing students for that. They will all be windowed, so there will be a specific day that you are given that students need to sit these. So when you access the exam timetable, you can see them all sat there. So when you're planning this, you need to think about, are you going to have access to the IT resources? Are IT going to be available? For example, for task 1, the preparation of a trial balance and complete reconciliation, they will need access to whichever accounting software you've chosen. So if you've chosen, say, Sage or Xero, then you're going to need to work with your IT team to make sure that any of the exam accounts and computers that these students are going to be using have that software on there. There's also a pre-release for task 1, which gives you all of the information you need to set up the accounting software for students to be able to undertake these tasks. So it's going to be important that when you're looking at the assessment for the occupational specialism, that you have a fairly early meeting with your exams team, with your IT team and your teaching team, and you sit down and you think about, what am I going to need? How is this going to happen? And what resources are we going to need? Because obviously the occupational specialism is a medium or high control assessment. That means it's using exam accounts, which means you are unlikely to be able to access them. So then you're going to need to speak to the IT team to action it for you. Or it might be that because it's a pre-release, you do get it a day or two before the assessment takes place. It might be that you need to look at having some of your staff off timetable on that day or that afternoon, so that they've got time to go round and make sure that they're set up, that they're operating correctly. As you move on through, you'll find that in each of these tasks, you'll also get students will be given a resource booklet, they'll be given a task booklet, and then they'll be given an answer booklet. So the resource booklet will give them any stimulus material they need. The task booklet will then give them the tasks, and then obviously the answer booklet is where they'll record their answers. And then also, in addition to planning for making sure your accounts are set up, because the materials that students are going to produce are going to be digital, whoever is going to upload this to the Pearson site, so at the minute it's OneDrive, but it'll be wherever they're going, they're going to need time on each of the assessment days to access those materials, make sure they're saved in the correct format, and then upload them onto the assessment portal. So when you're looking at these assessments, it might be worth thinking about, what time is everyone on site before you start? Because if you've got people that aren't available till, say, 9 o'clock, you might not want to start your assessments at 9 o'clock, just so you can delay them and you've got everyone there in case there's any issues. Equally, if you've got the option of any point in the day, you might not want to be doing the assessment in the afternoon, in case IT go home or exams have gone home and then you're not able to access the materials and upload them. So again, another thing to think about when you're planning, what time of day is going to work best, who's going to be responsible for accessing those materials when they're complete and moving them, who's then going to be responsible for processing them, and who's going to be responsible for uploading them onto the Pearson portal, because they need to be done the same day usually, or by lunchtime the next day. So there's quite a tight window, and you're not going to want just one member of staff that's able to do it. You're going to need to want to make sure that probably most of the team are familiar with the approach, just in case. So as we look at the other tasks then, obviously we've got task 2, preparation of the financial documents for a sole trader. We've got task 3, preparation of a tax computation. Task 4, preparation of financial documents for a limited company. Task 5 currently has a pre-release again with it, which you get about a week before. This is on payroll activities. So within the pre-release, it tells you what you need to make available to students. So we've had national insurance tables in the past that have been made available. So you will need to make sure you go and get that pre-release. And again, if you're not sure what you're being asked for, reach out and ask the Pearson support team. Give them a ring. That's what they're there for. They will be able to go and find the information for you to make sure that you're supporting your learners. So again, task 5 is going to need some preparation to be prepared. You've then got task 6, production of a payslip. In the sample assessment materials, and I think the first series of this, there was a pre-release, but it seems that from summer 24 onwards, or summer 25 onwards even maybe, they have been making those materials available within the task as part of the resource booklet. So it's just important with task 6 just to have a look. So if you're looking at the sample assessment materials, the ADSAMs, the SAMs, or the 24 paper, you'll see there's probably a pre-release. Whereas if you're viewing this a little bit later and you're looking at the summer 25 paper once it's been published, you'll notice that that pre-release isn't there now. So it's just making sure that each series you have a look and just check if anything's changed so that you're fully prepared. Then you move into task 7, audit. And then, as we said, task 8 was those 3 subtasks. Task A is on a day on its own, B and C are together, and then task D is on its own. So it is quite a hefty assessment. Students, though, aren't in for more than a couple of hours at each time, so it is spread out quite nicely. They do have time between each of the tasks to make sure they go away, they focus, and they prepare for the next task. But it is useful that they obviously understand what they're doing and when they're doing it, and what sort of skills they're going to need to be able to demonstrate. This is written by Pearson. It is obviously produced in Centre, and then it's uploaded and it's marked by Pearson. So other than any formative assessment that you want to do, all of the occupational specialism, like the core components, is externally assessed. So thank you for listening to this bite-sized session on the introduction to the occupational specialism. Hopefully this has been useful. If you'd like to know more about the assessment of an occupational specialism or other features of the occupational specialism, there are other bite-sized sessions within the Getting Ready to Teach and Getting Ready to Assess that would be useful.